Hi and welcome to A World of Words. I'm Vanessa and today I'm just doing a bit of a discussion on monthly reading wrap-ups. As the title and that little intro just said, today I'm doing a bit of a discussion video. I think this is my first ever discussion video on this channel. Possibly. I don't know. Just now, I'm wearing the same thing. I just filmed my July reading wrap-up. Last year, July was the first ever reading wrap-up that I did for this channel. My channel is over a year old. I had quite a bit of time before I started doing reading wrap-ups. It's been a year of reading wrap-ups, which is kind of shocking to me. So I just thought I would have a bit of discussion about reading wrap-ups, my experience of reading wrap-ups. I would love for you to share your experience and thoughts on the idea of reading wrap-ups, how it changes your reading and things like that in the comments below. And at the end of this video, I will tell you whether I have decided to continue doing reading wrap-ups on this channel or not. So I'm going to go through a few pros and cons for me personally about reading wrap-ups, and I think it would be really interesting, again, if you let me know your thoughts on these, like if these are pros for you or if my cons are your pros or vice versa. This is like a discussion video slash a reflection video because I'm not actually arguing you should do reading wrap-ups, you should not do reading wrap-ups. I'm just kind of like talking about my experience this past year of doing them. So I'm going to start with a pro. A pro of reading wrap-ups is that, of monthly reading wrap-ups I should say, is that it's really nice to have that record of what you read, of what you thought about a book at a certain time. Like, it's really cool that in 2 years I could go back to last July's reading wrap-up and be like, these are the books I read, this is what I thought about them, there's my face talking about them. And now for the con, and this is just the main con for me personally. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I find reading wrap-ups to be the single most stressful video that I regularly make. That is because, for some reason, reading wrap-ups, like, you have to wait until the month is over in order to film it because you don't know what you finished reading until the last day of the month. But then also somehow we're expected to have our reading wrap-up up as close to the beginning of the following month as humanly possible. Some people even put up their wrap-ups on the last day of the actual month. And I'm like, well, how did you do that? Because how do you know that you didn't finish a book in that last few hours of that last day? I don't know. I do not like editing on a tight time schedule. I find it very stressful. So I usually have like the wrap-up up and then I try and have it up by the next Monday, which only leaves me like a week to make the video. And even though it takes me about roughly 4 hours to edit each video, wrap-ups might be a little bit longer because sometimes I ramble and they're really, really long. For me, it's really stressful to edit wrap-ups because I have that time where I have to film it and I have to have it up. Somehow it's expected that we have to have our wrap-ups up like so soon. I tend to ramble so much during my wrap-ups when I'm talking about all of the different books that I have to cut out like half of what I talk about for each book, and it takes me so long to cut it down, and like, I don't know why I'm nothing like making a sandwich, but like make it good, valuable content and then do that for each book. It takes me so long and I really don't look forward to it. Sometimes I actually dread it. That's like the major con for me, editing wrap-ups. Now the pro is the discussion. It's really nice to have your wrap-up and be like, this is what I thought about every book I read this month, and then have other people comment and be like, I also read that book, I thought it was really good, or like, I liked this book that you didn't like, and this is why, and it's kind of fun to have that sort of discussion about different books, or people commenting that they liked your review in general, they thought it was helpful. Next con is what I was kind of getting into the last one, was it makes you aware of how many books you're reading, which could be a pro, but I feel like it's more of a con for me personally. Like, it could be a pro for you because you want to keep track of what you're reading and how fast you read. That's something I've never done. I generally read fairly fast. It generally averages to roughly a book a week, so I've never really kept track of how many books I read. And I found that when I first started doing wrap-ups, I would get really stressed when I was coming to the end of the month. And if I spent like 2 weeks reading a book because I was busy doing other things, spent 2 weeks reading this massive fantasy book. And I'm just like, how dare I take so long to read a book? Now my wrap-up's gonna be boring because I don't have enough books on there and I should have read more and blah 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 blah. I'd have to count all the books I read, basically, and like either made me feel really good, which was stupid because like why does it matter if I read 7 books or 3 books? Why does it matter if I didn't read any books at all? It doesn't matter. So it basically would stress me out that I had to count up all the books I read and be like, oh, you didn't read enough, so this is awkward because you only read 2 books. Oh, she only read 2 books. That never happens, but you know, that's how we put pressure on ourselves, right? Then what happened that changed my mind about this? I read a ridiculous amount of books one month, and my reading wrap-up for that month, the footage was like 48 minutes long for one reading wrap-up, and that I think that's what traumatized me, honestly, because I was like, I spent so long on that wrap-up. I think I cut like 25 minutes out of that wrap-up. That wrap-up ended up being like 20 minutes long or something stupid. I just didn't stop talking. I kept going. I kept saying more and more about each book, and I was like, stop. You've said enough. They get it. So after that happened, I was like, well, now, reading too many books, now it's reading too many books, means you're gonna have to edit a really long video. So, unless you want to edit a 5-hour video, you best not read too much this month. So then it like kind of flipped to be like, okay, I don't want to read too much, but I also don't want to read too little. So like, if I'm reading too much this month. Like one month it was like a week and a half into the month and I'd already finished 3 books and I was like, ooh, better slow down, because like, do you really want to edit that wrap up? Like, no. So then I like physically pulled back from reading, purposely like watched more TV, just read like 1 more book, and then I don't have to edit a long video, which again is really stupid. If I want to read, I should read. If I don't want to read, I shouldn't read. It shouldn't be like my reading should not depend on the wrap-up I'm going to make at the end of the month. It's weird the effect that wrap-ups have on your reading. And I'd like to know, does it affect anybody else? Because I've heard things about people saying that like, it does affect them and that they feel like they have to read a certain amount in order to be considered a good reader or a good booktuber, which is ridiculous. And I think that it's kind of silly that wrap-ups even make us think that much at all, but they do, because you're keeping track of things, and when you keep a list of things, you can't help be affected by it. But yeah, so I used to just like read a book. It would take as long as it took. I would finish it, I'd move on to the next book, and I would not keep track, and I would just happily be on my reading way. And that's what made me love reading so much. It wasn't keeping this record, feeling like I have to have a good review about every single book I read, talk about pros and cons. I do like to talk about books, but I don't like to do, probably noticed, intense like literary discussions about them. I will tell you why. I've heard the complaint that people in their wrap-ups need to have more literary discussions about books and like in the reviews be more critical. This is probably another video entirely. I just want to say real quick that that's not what I enjoy doing. I had to do that during my high school years. I also had to do that. I was an English major in college, so I spent 4 years. That was what I did. And I wrote essays, and I had to critique and pick apart little details and passages about books and analyze them until it drove me insane. So I like to discuss them to some degree, but I don't like to like go deep into the depths of the symbolism and meaning of every little thing in every book. I'm sure there's a happy medium. I like talking about them and being like, I like this. This was a little disappointing. I don't like doing deep critical analysis of them. It's never really what I enjoyed. I was never really a critical reader. I was more like, I just read what I think sounds like fun to read, and I just like enjoy the story. Message. I just want to have fun and enjoy the story. I'm sorry, I was like waving my hand at you a lot in this video. I don't know what's going on. I went on about that con for a really long time. Final part I'm going to talk about. I thought wrap-ups were the most consistent views that I got from my YouTube channel. There was a period of time where I feel like wrap-ups were the only videos that got a consistent number of views, because like, I know it's not all about views, but as somebody who like, my views fluctuate so much, and they still do, to the point where I'm trying to use views to figure out what people like and what people want so I can make more content that people want to watch and enjoy, because that's part of the point of a YouTube channel. It's partially for my own enjoyment, but also you're watching it, so I want you to enjoy what you're watching. Wrap-ups seem to be something that people consistently enjoyed because I would do a book tag one month and then it would get a lot of views and I'd be really happy, and then I would do another book tag thinking people like book tags and then that wouldn't get many views, so I'd be like, okay, so no book tags. It's very confusing. Your views probably all fluctuate, but like mine fluctuate at such like a tiny low level that it's like really really noticeable. And so I thought wrap-ups were the only thing that were keeping my channel afloat and the only thing people were actually like watching and commenting on. And then I looked back at it and I did some research last night. Like I actually went through and looked at like my views on all of my videos and all of my wrap-ups to see if what I was thinking was actually true. And then I realized no, that's not true. Like wrap-ups fluctuate just as much as any other video. It's not the only thing that gets consistent number of views. So really made me think. Also, you're probably going to get to my answer very, very soon of whether I'm going to continue doing wrap-ups. Let's go through the pros one more time. It is nice to have a record of what I read, when, and what I thought of it. And it is nice to discuss books with you lovely people. As far as the record of what I read and what I thought of it, Goodreads is a record of what I read. As a discussion part about discussing books, I can discuss books in book tags too. And book tags I tend to go towards like my main favorite books all the time, but if I don't do wrap-ups anymore, then I'll try and be bringing more recent reads into it. My final decision. You probably guessed it by now. I'm no longer going to do monthly reading wrap-ups. I probably did not need this whole long discussion video to decide that, but I did want to have a discussion about reading wrap-ups and my personal experience with them so that you would understand exactly where I was coming from when I say I'm not doing reading wrap-ups anymore. And as soon as I decided that, like last night I decided after writing my notes for this video, it was like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. And I don't even realize why. It doesn't make sense. It makes me sound like I'm kind of insane for like worrying this much about wrap-ups, but it wasn't even just the wrap-ups. It was not the wrap-ups themselves. It was also worrying about like editing them, and like I said, it's the most stressful video for me. I should be making more videos that make me happy. I realize wrap-up videos just they don't make me super happy. Oh yeah, another thing about wrap-ups was that, just real quick, I know this video is getting long, every month I would have to do a reading wrap-up, and it would come around so fast that I'd be like, oh, I have to film this month. But if I'm going to get ready to film, and I'm going to set up everything, then I have to film a couple of the videos. Like, I want to do these skit videos, but they're not ready yet, so I would go and do like these easy, fast videos. It was usually like a book tag or something, which like I said, I love book tags. If I had a little extra time to let myself prepare, I might have made something a little bit more creative or something. So if I take wrap-ups off the table, then when I film, it'll just because I'm like really ready to film a video that I can put like more creative energy into. So I really want to do that instead. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this video in general, because am I crazy? Are wrap-ups not that big a deal? Do you enjoy doing wrap-ups? Are you able to do wrap-ups without them causing the psychological nonsense that they seem to cause me? I would love to know. Do you just not ramble as much, or do you take more notes when you make videos? Because I used to like take notes as script videos, but it didn't work out. So yeah, that is it for this discussion. I hope it made sense. I hope it was enjoyable, or at least interesting for you to get a look into my crazy brain. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments below. I upload new videos on Mondays, plus the occasional surprise videos, so please subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. I'm no longer doing reading wrap-ups, but I'm going to still be doing all sorts of fun videos. Bye!